cutie. Welcome back, or welcome to my channel if you're new. My name is Laura. Hi, hello, welcome. It's time to talk about things that intimidate the heck out of me. And I have an assortment of products in front of me that I bought because I thought I was cooler than I was. These are just items that intimidate the heck out of me, also known as my fantasy self. Products that I, for some reason, don't feel like I can part ways with because I'll be that cool one day. That'll be me one day, and that's yet to be proven. So I have just a big stack of random stuff in front of me, and I'm excited to just share them with you. So I guess let's just dive into there. I have no rhyme or reason today. We're just kind of going to go all over the map with stuff. So the first item I want to share is a item that I have 8 different versions of. There are these guys here. These are my Shop by Melolops neon pigments because I thought to myself I wanted neon eyeliners and they only had the pigments available. So I went, this will do just fine. And honey baby, what were you doing? I do not use these almost at all. I have used them a very small handful of times throughout their life in my collection since I got them like 5 years ago now. I do not use these often, to the point where I have thought about maybe parting with them, but there's something in me that can't. Again, I have this weird thing with loose eyeshadows. I can't feel the need to like part with them. I'm like, they're fine. They'll live forever. So these will just live in my collection forever. I have also thought of using these in like my gel nail application because pigments work better for like the Aurora kind of look. So I have thought about dabbling with them in that regard as well and kind of using them in my eyeshadow or my nails interchangeably, but I haven't taken the plunge to just move these into a different area in my collection. So I have these neon pigments that intimidate the crap out of me. Yet here they are, living in my collection still. Let me know if you would like to see a video using these. I know it is very much not the time of year to go with a neon pigment, but if there's anything you want to see using these at any point, leave it in the comments below. I am happy to do anything you want using these neon pigments. What else? I guess kind of the same wavelength, things that just intimidate me that are very colorful. I have a lot. There was a very, very brief part of the pandemic journey where I started getting into the idea of doing graphic eyeliner a lot. And I ended up purchasing a bundle from Glisten Cosmetics. And before that, I had a couple eyeshadow, or not eyeshadow palettes, eyeliner, cake liner palettes. So I didn't even use these enough, but I went, you know what? It's because they're pastel. We might as well get a whole range of like primary shades. How often have you seen me wear eyeliner anymore? Very, very few and far between. But there's going to be a point in my panning journey where I'm going to want... Well, if you want to see anything with cake liners, again, let me know. But that is, again, another area in my makeup collection that I don't use because it intimidates me. And why did I get the whole rainbow and not just like the couple shades that I knew I would wear? I can mix and match, Laura. You can mix and match. These are all like my inner monologue voices of like, you can just mix your own shade. If you have all of the primary shades, you can just mix whatever you want. These are really cool for the holidays. Do I reach for them? No. I guess we're going to make a hard segue over to lips, I guess. And I have a few lip products. One of them I'm wearing, actually. It's probably worn off, so I will reapply it. But I do have 3 lip products, lip glosses, that definitely scare the pants off of me. So the first 2 are going to be Fenty Cream lip glosses. This is the cream formula. These are just 2 shades that are very similar, and they can look a lot on the lips at any given time. So I have to be very careful and very strategic about when I wear these. It really can just be like a dot of lip gloss because it really is so opaque. But the shades in particular, because I do have one I like called Mauve Wives, and that one looks fine no matter what. But the shade Candy Milk and Cupcaken are just really, really challenging shades of pink to wear. They're just a little bit deeper of a pink than I like to normally wear. So those ones are just a little bit intimidating. But I mean, you could tell I had this in a project at one point, and that one has barely been used. So there's that. But they're really beautiful, and I mean, like, very similar shades. One is slightly more pink, one is slightly more neutral. And then the one that I need to reapply, and I will do that very briefly, is this guy here. This is the NYX This Is Milky Gloss. I bought this because I just thought it was unique, honestly. I was like, nope. When I worked at Ulta, nobody was really buying these. And I kind of want to try it and see what it's about. It is such a cool toned gloss. I don't reach for it all too often because it is kind of like a grayish kind of shade. But I find it can go really well with these kind of minty looks or really cool toned looks occasionally. So I wear it with a really warm lip liner, but this is a very intimidating color. And even like having it on now, I'm like, looking in the monitor, do I like this? Do I look weird? I don't know. This one's a hard one for me. I don't know how I feel about it still, and I've worn it a few times now. Then I have, I'm going to save my eyeshadow palettes for last because I do have a few eyeshadow palettes. So we're just going to get there in a couple products. I do have some highlights in my collection that are all like fantasy highlight shades for me because of the types of highlights they are. So first I have these two Space Age highlights from Kaleidos. I have Gifted and Prophecy. These are multi-chrome highlights, so they have a really beautiful shift to them. They're really, really unique and they're really cool. And again, they're like, I'm not cool enough to reach for these. This one, arguably, I reach for more often and like this shade a little bit more because it has a little bit more purple to it. I tend to really like highlights that have a bit of like that kind of shade in them. So this is the Gifted shade. I don't have as much of a hard time reaching for this one as I do with Prophecy. This one's just like a little bit warmer, a little bit greener almost. So we have Gifted here and then Prophecy here. Yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but for some reason there's like greens in these two shades almost that just make it like I'm not cool enough. I'm not on that level. I try it occasionally and I never really like it enough to like want to have it on as my sole highlight ever. And then alternatively, this one here, this is a really cool palette. This is the Fantasy Cosmetica Celestial Lights highlighting palette. And this is such a cool palette. And again, it's one of those like I am not cool enough for this. This shade for sure is definitely right up my alley, but these two are definitely a little bit more intimidating. Dark Star here actually shattered before it arrived to me, but like no planet in the solar system is that a highlight for me. Whirlwind is really, really cool because it's a pink with like that super intense blue shift, so I really do like it. It's more of a blush topper to me. And then Dancing Lights is the last shade. And this is the shade that I actually really like and can see myself using as a highlighter. I've used another shade similarly to that earlier this year and used it as a highlight. But that is like very like, I'm not that cool to reach for like very cool tone shades like that as cheek highlights. Then I have 4 eyeshadow palettes that I would deem are kind of like my fantasy self eyeshadow palettes anymore. And there's no real rhyme or reason between them, so I guess let's just continue on the wavelength of Fantasy Cosmetica. There is a palette that does intimidate the pants off of me as well. It's the Warlock palette, and this is such a cool color story, but again, it's one that it's not something that I gravitate myself towards. It's very like autumnal, Halloween, this time of year. Very condensed version of the Odin's Eye Halloween. Oh, did my monitor just die? Oh no. All right, so I have lost my monitor, so I have no idea if I'm in focus or what. but this is the Fantasy Cosmetica Warlock palette. It's definitely more cool girl, very colorful, very outside of my comfort zone anymore. But it does have some really beautiful shades. Ritual up here, Pact, and Arcanium are just some of my all-time favorites. I do like Patron down here. It is really pretty, very bright, very pink, but it's a beautiful shade. I really do like this palette, but it does scare the heck out of me. Then I have a all matte palette next as one that intimidates me. This is the Sugar Pill 8-bit fun size mini color palette. This is such a fun color story. It is kind of a neon pastel palette where it's not quite pastel, it's not quite neon. It kind of meets in the middle of those two. But this is a really fun palette. I definitely bought this when I was very much more adventurous with color. 3 or 4 years ago, I definitely was. Now I'm like an old crony who just wants my neutrals. But I really do like this palette a lot. It does give me some different tones that I could reach for within my collection. However, it's one that I don't reach for enough because it is very, there's like clearly like a time frame that you would use this kind of palette. This is not an everyday palette at all. A palette that I didn't purchase myself, it was a gift, but it does intimidate me, is the Morphe Sour Patch Kids Sour Then Sweet palette. This was a gift from Josh for an anniversary, I want to say, and I did scrape a couple shades out. I did scrape the Major Mood shades here. It was that like a blue brown kind of shade. It just wasn't as impactful as some of the blue brown shades I have elsewhere in my collection. And then Gimme Grape unfortunately did cause some eye irritation. But this is a very rainbow palette, very much not my speed anymore. I definitely don't gravitate towards rainbow palettes like this, but it is nice to have it for when the look calls for a specific shade. I know I can reach into here and find what I'm looking for. Then the last palette that intimidates me with the color story is my Clionadh Cosmetics and Emily Violet Marie Dragon Fruit palette. The packaging on this one has broken, and this is a very beautiful palette, but there's some shades in here. Really, these 4 shades in the middle, really this whole middle row, I do love Infusion a lot. But these 4 shades here in Strawberry Pear, there's just something about this palette that intimidates me to reach for it ever, really. There's like a mental block, and I really do feel like it's these 4 shades. Just when I think about this palette, that's all I think of. I don't think of the beautiful shade Bubbles here, or Dragon Teeny, or Fruit Fizz, or these fun greens. I really only think of like Hyloceris. That's an exotic. Those are like the 2 shades I really think of, and it just intimidates me to reach for this. So I feel like maybe even this would be better suited if I took all the shades out and put it in my Clionadh palette. I might end up doing that. Let me know if you would want to see me doing that and reorganizing my Clionadh singles like later on this year or maybe next year, like in January. Because I feel like that would let me get more use out of my Dragon Fruit shades. Because right now they're kind of just sitting, and I use them when I hit No Pan Left Behind. And then I don't really use them all too often otherwise. But those are the products in my collection that scare the living heck out of me for some reason or another. Whether it's because I thought I was way cooler when I purchased them, or that I've just grown out of that season in my life where I was wanting to reach for these. I mean, times do change and your preferences do change along with those. So who's to say in 3 more years I'm not going to be the queen of graphic liner again, or like these intimidating lip products aren't going to be like the thing that I want to reach for. So not to say because these are going to be in my collection for 3 years. Hopefully not. Lip products go bad fast. But that's kind of like my idea, is some of these products will like come and go into what I like more, what I consider intimidating. So we'll just have to check back in on these products in a year or 2 and see where they reign in my collection, if I still have them or if I've decided to part ways with them. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you're staying healthy, sane, and safe, and I will catch you in the next video. Bye.